Hey y'all, welcome to the GON Outdoors podcast. Thanks for joining us. This is the place where we talk about all things hunting and fishing. As we like to say, if it's going on out there, then we're talking about it right here. So let's get after it with the latest episode.
Hey guys, this is Brad Gill. I've been an editor here at GON for 20 years, and today's podcast is going to be a little bit of a different one in the sense that we're going to celebrate the life of Glen Solomon. Glen very sadly passed away on August the 16th. That just happened to be the second day of small game season, and Glen was doing exactly what Glen loved to do, and he was hog hunting. He was at Big Hammock WMA that morning, and he had actually killed a hog. He had gotten some photos and even videoed how to bone out a hog while it was on the ground. He started experiencing some chest pains, so he drove himself to the hospital, and we later found out from his son Corey that he had passed away there at the hospital from a blood clot that had traveled to his lungs. Glen has been a huge asset to this company, and he will be greatly missed, which is why today we're going to celebrate his life. We're going to air a podcast that I recorded with Glen at the end of July. Glen is talking about an article that he had just written in the July issue of GON, telling folks how to come down to southeast Georgia to the Blackwater rivers and catch red bellies. So, with permission from the family, we're so very blessed to be able to bring you this podcast as we all come together today to celebrate the life of Glen Solomon.
Man, I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us today. Now, I was thinking about this before we connected earlier. How long have you been writing for GON now?
Been a while. I don't know, 2005, 2006, 7, somewhere around there.
I know you live in Hazlehurst. Did you grow up down that way, or?
I was born in Coffee County, Georgia, living nearby Jeff Davis County now the last 20 years or so. Met a gal over here, and in a sweet spot right here where all the three rivers come together, Ottamaha, Okmulgee.
So how did you actually get your start in the outdoor industry, writing for us?
Well, I've hunted most of the public lands all my life, and WMAs, and I met Steve Birch and another feller back in the day when they was first starting out with a little tabloid type magazine. They were just asking around the check stations down around in southeast Georgia who was kind of consistent, I reckon, that I could talk to and have a chat with at the check station, weigh-in times, and I reckon we finally run together, and I think it was River Bend WMA had their first hunt. It was I believe it was a quota hunt, if I weren't mistaken, their very first hunt, and I'd killed some deer and some hogs and all, and they put a little thing in there about it, and then I reckon you came across it and needed a hog article one day, and knew I hog hunted a lot of WMAs, and I reckon about that time they started to have a lot more WMA hunts. Like after squirrel season, August 15th, you could hunt several of them, and then which transitioned into pretty much all of them, I reckon. And you called me one day and asked me to do a hog article, and worked on it and did it, and took off from there, I reckon. Well, not to mention, I forgot the year prior, or may have been a few months prior, you had a hog article and wanted to meet me at Chickasawhatchee, and I was going to be down there hunting on that hog hunt, and you did that story, and I was kind of I reckon, the subject of it, and we had a good hunt, and both you and I got a hog on that hunt, and I reckon after that, that's when you come to me and get to do a hog article a few months, or maybe in the next year, and just been doing a little bit, poking along, doing a few along public land stuff.
Yeah. If I could, man, that Chickasawhatchee hunt, that was where I first, met you face to face. And I know that your son Corey was there, and Don was there, and we camped out, your friend Don. If I remember one thing about that hunt this many years ago, it's the fact that you walked my feet off, brother. I think we put in about 11 miles to kill some hogs, didn't we?
Yeah, never give up. You got to want to bad enough. Got to stay on the move.
That's
stay
right.
And you finally run up with them. Just stay in the sand. And process elimination is a big thing. You're in prime hog habitat. You'll cross paths sooner or later, and over the years you'll learn to mark those spots. And then when you return those same WMA, you can just connect the dots. That's real sweet where the GPS comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You can get in, get out quick, wham, bam, run around, hunt on the fly.
Well, right after that trip, I went out and bought my first GPS. You made me a believer in those things, and also just being persistent with hunting and trying to find hogs and all that kind of stuff. So I think after reading a number of your stories years and years and years later, you're pretty persistent when it comes to whether you're hog hunting or trying to catch redbreast or red bellies in the Blackwater stream. The story that you just did for us, it just came out. In fact, it's online right now. Your Blackwater red belly slam. I tell you, I can read that thing and just know that you have a passion for catching those little panfish.
Yeah, I love all my native stuff, and I pretty much stay on them. Really don't do nothing coastal wise, as far as ocean, salt water, and I just love all my native stuff right here in Georgia, and really had no desire to even travel out of state to do anything like a lot of folks do, and all kind of freshwater fish and critters to chase, and with all our public land and waters, and I also just try to run a timetable on it. Whatever, I try to hit the optimum time for whatever species or fish or game I'm chasing. What's the best time for them? Chase the rut, chase the bite, chase the moon, chase the bedding. Chase the water levels, a lot of different factors. I like a little taste of it all, and kind of stay well-rounded with everything, and don't ever get burnt out on nothing like that. There's always something hunting fish in Georgia.
When does redbreast season really get cranked up down there where you're in your neck of the woods in southeast Georgia, where the folks are hitting the rivers and creeks big time?
They'll start about mid-March, and I would say April, and May will be the early June will be kind of the peak of it, and they'll catch a lot of fish. But I like late summer, and I don't care about freezing a whole pile of fish, because there's two kinds of fish. Growing up, you got fish and you got fresh fish. Old timers used to invite them over. They want to come eat some fish, and they say fresh fish. Well, that's two different things. So anyway, I like the challenge too, and there's no crowds in the summer. The water's lower, it's more constant. You ain't got to yo-yo up and down with the rains, and get away from the folks, and I ain't got to go and catch 200 or 300, but I can go out there late summer, mid June and July and August, and catch in all the way up to early September. I'll fish right up to bow season and catch plenty of fish. Sometimes a little more boat dragging, sometimes a little wading, and sometimes the water do come up now. There's some rivers a little higher now, but they're falling back out. But we have so many Blackwater streams down here. There's always going to be one that's right, and I just kind of like to go behind everybody, and I leave a lot of fish behind, sticking to the regular methods of fishing, and I can usually go behind them, just kind of more finessing, leave the corks at the house and stay on the bottom, make your long cast, be quiet, and rig a whole worm up, and you can make it happen, and you can find them.
That was one interesting thing from your article, because, growing up in, middle Georgia, you go to a pond and the bream are always biting. You throw a cricket or a worm or whatever under a bobber and you catch them every time. But you actually used the phrase court shy redbreast. And I had no idea that these things even get court shy, but through your experience, it sounds like they do get court shy.
And they've seen so many courts, they know the patent numbers on them probably on certain mates by now, and you just rig up a whole worm and that little split shot and that little hook and that worm fluttering down, and panfish alive is going to tear it down. And what's good about it, you can stay on the move, and when you're fishing like that, it's falling fast and flipping around, kind of like you're bass fishing and moving around. And the first one to hit it is pretty much going to be the biggest one in that hole. And they tend to be scattered, be well after they bedded and all. And them big redbreasts and big fan fish, they're going to be kind of caught and ready up in a little hole somewhere. And they're going to be the first one that nails it when you flip that worm down there and it's fluttering down there. Catch a little one, I just kind of stay on the move and do a lot better instead of camping out on a hole. Now, if I want a mess, I will camp out on a good hole, because if I want a big mess to eat or fish fry, I like the mixed sizes. I actually like the smaller sizes to eat. And there's a lot of holes I could sit right there and, hold or 2 or 3 and then, catch a full limit. But, by late summer, I've eat plenty of fish. You got a little bit in the freezer. Don't like the freezer a lot. Like I said, I like keeping fresh. And, I guess we'll make the day and go catch a few big ones and it works. All I know, that little worm flutter now. And I know people always think crickets with the redbreast, but I do far better with the worms. I do bring crickets, when it's real clear. They seem to do, if the water's really, really clear, sometimes the crickets do almost as good, but they never beat that worm, a big worm like a big red or a Florida pink. And just hook him 2 or 3 times near the end and or thread him up just a little piece on there, past the U of the hook and let him dangle. And, it works great. It's always been my go-to. I make many trips. I ain't even got a cork in the boat.
That's you mentioned several times about the way you hook that worm too. And, I always threaded it on the hook, but I like the way you do it better. You just hook it 2 or 3 times in the tail and let it dangle. And we've actually got a video of you doing that at GON.com. I think that's a great example of your whole little Carolina rig, and just really a real nice finesse setup.
I think the fish get spooky. They'll get boat shy, so you need to be kind of quiet and drift as much as you can too. And I think it's just after months of people pounding. I've been right behind a lot of regulars and people that fish that river all alive. They'll ease on up with their poles and corks, and have many of them tell me, "Well, I reckon the bite's already over with. We wore them out the last 3 months. It looks like it's over for the year." And I come right behind them on the bottom and catch for some along right behind them and use water. It works. And I leave my, a lot of shell cracker fishermen, they thread the worm on, had the whole hook, buried, give that little kink in the worm. But I kind of like my hook stick, I thread mine on 2 or 3 pops through the end of the worm there and then have the hook point sticking out actually a little bit. Get hung a little more, but that goes again. I use them, I like to use them, true turn hooks, and once you straighten them out, they'll pretty much bend every time you get hung. About the only time you break off is when your sinker gets wedged up into something. But they work really well. And little number 6 true turns, and sometimes a number 4, and also them little I use the black mustad Aberdeen hooks, and the same size. They work pretty good. Once you straighten them out, you got a good knot. Once you straighten them out. And I'll stick with 6-pound line. Got to keep it finesse as much as I can. 6 pound. Or either, sometimes I use 8-pound, fluorocarbon, like that cigar. It's real abrasion resistant. Works really well. I change my line every trip. A week or 2, I'll change that line. That kind of keep the kinks, the curlicues out of it. And I like I said, cigar, 8-pound fluorocarbon works good. The Crafty Pro 6-pound test, 8-pound test works good. It's kind of a limp line.
You also mentioned artificials. You can go about this doing it artificially as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I usually start off with the bait and I want to mess and camp on a hole. But the worms, the main thing. You're gonna get bit on the worm. But if they're hitting artificials, they hit artificial real good that time of year. I'll actually start off with them. And then I'll come back, work back towards the landing. I'll use a worm to scrape up some more. But, the artificial I like to use, I'll use a Satilla spin. I used spin dandies for years and real good, but Bert Dean out of Waycross started making these Satilla spin, and it's a real good little spinner bait. They got the Sampo bearing swivels on it, make a nice flutter and fall. You can see the blades spiraling down real good. And the cheaper ones that had the little barrel swivels, and it's got better skirts. You can leave them in your plastic tackle box, put them out next year. They're still supple and soft, and all the other mix and models, they'll be all matted and sticking together and all, age, whatever. But I do real good with them. I like the crawfish. The crawfish color is probably one of the best colors there is about anywhere you go. And I have a red and white, which has always been a norm for Redbreast, red and white color. But he has a couple of different sizes in them. And I use both of them. And they work really, really good. And he also makes fly bugs, burnt bugs. I use them, floating back, flipping around, and swamp spiders by Craig James make work real good too late season.
Now, where are you buying the Satilla Spin and the one that you mentioned by Craig James? I know they're really, really popular down there, both of them, for panfish. Where are you usually? Are you getting them online, or are you getting them in a store somewhere down there?
Yeah, most area tackle stores down here have got them. One of the biggest tackle suppliers, Wings Outdoors, and Waycross, handles, and they'll put them out all the area stores. If somebody's got a local store down here in, southeast, Georgia and, a little further west, a little further north there come, just have your local tackle store get a hold of them and see if that's part of their route. But you can order them. You can go online. I know my buddy just ordered a bunch of stuff from it's Bert's Jigs and things. And I'm sure you can order from him. He makes the Dura spins as well. And but you can go to Bert's Jigs and thing. There's a link on there.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. When you go and you put in a ramp, are you generally going up and floating down? And what kind of boat do you have? You got to get a little 10 horsepower motor, or what exactly are you running?
Yeah, I just use I got a 15 foot tracker, and I got a front and a rear trolling motor is all I use. I think it's a 56 pound thrust, 12 volt on the front, and I got a 46 pound 12 volt on the back, and just for backup most of the time, or if I want to run away before I start. But pretty much everywhere I go, I'll start right at the ramp, and 95% of the time I'll go up, and with the boat control and the current and all, I'll I can fish a little slower and have my nose in the current, and then I get up about the time I want to head back, I'll turn back and I'll take the worms out a lot of times, finesse those spots that I got the most bites on the artificials, and I'll just float back down fishing. And all these rivers have got some of the best stretches is right here at the ramp. So a lot of people get with they got a motor, and I've seen so many, I've been around so many folks over here. We're going to run away before we start fishing. We'll get away from everybody. But everybody pulls up around, we got that motor, they all saying that, and they all wind up the same spot way upriver, and I'll just start right around and catch all I need. But there's a lot of them, Redbreast especially, they'll be all out in the current. They could be in the most shallow water, and they love the current. And you got some current and shade, they'll be there. Just you can look at the white sandy bottoms, and just where that Blackwater starts right there, they'll be right there on that transition most of the time out even way out in the middle of the river, and the deeper holes, of course.
So do they like a ledge where you got that white kind of shallow sandier bottom and then it drops off into that deeper?
Yeah, I reckon they feel they kind of hid. You can't see them. You can fish that line and down the edge and you see them run out. Anything's easy to see with that white sand under there in the background, and they'll run out if they feeding. But I always try to stay in a little bit of current, even when when the rivers get real low down here, and you have to kind of get out, wait a lot, and always bring me a rope. That way I can pull my boat up. And that's another thing. If you got a motor and gas tanks and all that extra weight, that's a lot more weight. That's another thing. One reason I kind of abstain from using the motor in those small rivers and creeks. But you can wade fish and zigzag from the sandbar and never get on the regular summer levels. You can wade and never get over your knees. You can sometimes I go a mile or two wading up some of these little rivers and creeks and never get over knee deep, and just bring my stringer or wire basket along with me and make trips back to boat, whatever things I may need, and works out good.
It sounds peaceful to me. How much angler traffic you see in this time of year in July and August?
Very, very little. Most
Yeah.
people sitting in their air conditioning. But I ain't never found it too hot to hunt and not hunt or fish myself. But see, these biggest thing about down here, most of these rivers are not all that wide, and in the sections I fish, and you got your tree cover. It'd be actually kind of cool on that river, even in 100-degree days, because the sun ain't hitting it all full blast all the time. There's always going to be at least one shady side 90% of the time. So you ain't going to be out there like on a pond or a lake, right in the middle of the inferno,
Man, you're painting a good picture here for me, making me I was sitting up in here in an office doing this interview, wishing I was fishing on a creek bottom somewhere alone with my boat with 2 trolling motors. So you've always had a real, and I've noticed this in your writing and just talking to you as we've been friends over the years, is you've just got a real love, a real passion, a real appreciation for the outdoors, and especially the areas like where you write about Tiller River, Canoochee. I mean, it's just almost ingrained in who you are. And you just got a real love and passion for that, man. And I just really appreciate that, because, it's almost like a lost art. You don't meet folks, and they just meet a lot of folks who just want to go out and hunt or kill something or catch some stuff, but man, it's deeper than that for you.
I love it. It's just, it's not a sport to me. It's a way of life, I reckon, put it that way. I love to share. I started writing about it because I love to talk about it. I try to tell people I ain't a know-it-all now. I just love to talk about it. You get me talking about it, I ain't going to shut up now. I just love it so much. And, right here in Georgia, we have everything right here in South and Middle Georgia. I can handle it. People say, let's go to the coast and catch this, or let's go to this state and do this. I think I got more than I can keep track of right now. I got enough right now keeping me happy right here in sweet Georgia. Good Lord made a great state here for us. You can cover it all. I mean, we have a little bit of everything in this state, and works out great.
One thing that I've always really appreciated from you as a freelance writer for our company is you have never been shy about sharing. And, a lot of hunters, a lot of fishermen, they have secrets, and that's all fine, but you have been willing to share. I'm talking about share individual specific spots so that people can go and experience the sort of things that you're experiencing. And we see that right here in this issue, or this article in the July issue, Blackwater Red-belly Slam. You actually provided, let's see how many you got here. I think it's about 14 different GPS coordinates along with photos of where folks can go and use the techniques and tactics that you outline and go and catch fish this month, right now, today. And I'm telling you, Glenn, you don't see that.
Once or twice, and they get skunked, and then all of a sudden they just stop, and you see all that stuff go on Facebook, and then the shoppers for sale, and they're right back out of it. We got to promote our heritage. Our numbers are dwindling fast. I ain't worried about giving up a honey hole coordinate. We got millions of acres of land and thousands of miles of water. And once you learn how to, put all these patterns together on different type of game and fish, I'll go find another hole. Ain't no big deal. And I just want to see other people successful and be as thrilled as I am. I'd rather carry other people and have them catch all the fish of the trip if need be. I just returned with a trip with a good friend of mine. They've never fished the Okefenokee Swamp. He's very few bowfin, never caught any on a lure, and he's caught his first flyer. They've actually caught catfish on lures, and they've caught, and pretty much they've never fished in the swamp, and they love it. Now he's ready to go again. He's done ordered all kind of lures, and he loves the swamp, and that's better than sitting there in that air conditioner on old stove up day in, day out. Get out and enjoy this great outdoors when you got time. There's something to do year round in this state.
Amen. Speaking of passing it on and letting other people catch stuff and hunt stuff, I'm sitting here looking at your article, and I'm looking at a picture of a beautiful 7-year-old girl named Madison Daniels. Man, tell me about her.
Oh, that's my granddaughter, one of my three grandkids, and they all know how to catch fish, and they'll go with me. And I just the other day I told her how to bottom fish, and she told me later, I don't need no stinking cork. I can catch them on the bottom. I threw that pork out her. She catch one every, and this right here at the pond of the house. She catch one every now and then. I thought it's time her to introduce her to a little finesse fishing. I got her a split shot and a hook, just a split shot and a hook, and she threaded her own bait and all three of my kids have bait their own, grandkids have bait the hook. They ain't shy about it. You know, I got another one, she can't stay out of the bait. She don't matter what kind, playing with them. But anyway, it didn't take her long. She had it down pat, and within 30 minutes, she could sling it, toss it out there real good, and learn how to hold that rod at the right angle and get that little dip in the line to take them bites, set that hook, and listen real good. And that's better than all them growing up using those smartphones. Most of the kids nowadays, get them out there and spend a few minutes with her. You know, she's doing good as better than some grown-ups, and within 30 minutes, she's doing better than some grown-ups I know fish. At the time, all it takes a little time with them. Show us something else out of all this cyber world we got out there.
Man, you training her up right, no doubt. Man, I got one more question for you, and just kind of put you on the spot here. If I were somebody that was listening to this and I said, man, I'm going to go read more and check out the GON article, and went online and saw all the additional photos we've got, and I said, man, I'm gonna, this is kind of a bucket list thing for me, man. I'm gonna pack up my stuff. I'm going to take my little boat, and I'm going to go to Southeast Georgia, and I'm going to go try this. And, man, you list a number of, like I said, 14 GPS coordinates, but you mentioned 4 or 5 rivers in here as well. If you could point to one place for them to start, you know, would it be the Satilla, the Canoochee? And I know you love them all, but if you're coming down here from just say Atlanta or somewhere, you know, 3 or 4 hours away, and you're going to make a weekend out of it, take your kid, man, what is your number one go-to place out of those that you've mentioned here?
Yeah, probably with the levels now, I would say the Satilla, because, you know, it gets pretty big. It gets toward the ocean end. There's several landers to choose from, and several landers. You go as smaller as you want, creek size, with a little combination of a little wading and dragging. And take in mind now, when you're wading and dragging a little bit more, there's you're getting a lot of holes other folks ain't getting to. But if you're also a kayak fisherman, kayak or canoe, these places could be gold. But if you like the comforts of a bigger boat like me, I'm kind of a mid-size, I reckon, with the John boat, flat bottom John boat and all, and the middle river and the lower river toward the toward the coast. There's plenty of room down there. You can, in the lower Satilla, you can even carry a full-size bass boat down there and fish. And there's Redbreast from one end to the other, so you can't go wrong. There's a lot of change. You can pull up to do one ramp on the Satilla, and man, it's too low here, or either I don't like this for whatever reason. In 30 minutes, an hour, you can be in another section. It's like a whole other different world. And then river levels also won't necessarily just be real low or high and taper gradually the same all the way to to its junction with the sea or its headwater or whatever. It'd be actually like stair steps, like a wall of water stepping down through different sections. A lot of choices on the Satilla. You can't go wrong with it. But all the other ones, they're all good. I can mention all good about all of them. The biggest thing is read these GON articles, and if you have any questions, and most of the time I leave by email, I'll be happy to share any up-to-date information. And if I don't know, I got friends who know what's going on that particular spot at the same time, and help you out any way I can.
Well, that's a great point. And another thing that just points to your willingness to help people is you provide phone numbers and email addresses. Glenn, I really do appreciate you taking the time today and talking with us a little bit more about your article that appears in the July issue of GON, and some more photos and additional information and a video at GON.com and his story as well. So, Glenn, listen, man, I thank you so much for taking the time today and sharing a little bit more with our readers.
Yep. Anytime.
Good deal, Glenn. Take care, buddy.
I appreciate it.